Okay guys, it should be Monday and we're working on lesson 2.8, Irrational Zeros, and this is the first video. So we'll start right off with trying to remember how we solve equations for when they have irrational zeros. So, okay. Here we go. First problem, x to the fourth minus 9x squared plus 18. We're going to let a equal x squared. So we have a squared minus 9a plus 18. And that factors to a minus 6 and a minus 3. And then when we put x squared back in for a, we get x squared minus 6 and x squared minus 3. Now we're setting that equal to 0 using the zero product property, and those aren't difference of squares, so we're just going to have to solve using square roots. So x squared would equal 6. Actually, let me show you what I did. I skipped a step, so I want to make sure you're clear on this. I did x squared minus 6 and set it equal to 0. So I got x squared equals 6. And then when I take the square root of both sides, so the square root of x squared, I will get plus or minus the square root of 6. So x is equal to plus or minus the square root of 6 for that binomial. And then over here, x squared equals 3, and so x is plus or minus the square root of 3. Skip some steps to get that. So our answer is x equals plus or minus the square root of 6 and plus or minus the square root of 3. All right, so those are irrational numbers, and that's all we're doing. We're just making sure you remember how to do irrational numbers. So I'll do number 2 just so we're all caught up. This would be, again, it's a quadratic pattern, so if I let a equal x squared, then I have 4a squared minus 33a plus 8. And so now factoring that, I'm going to factor that to 4a minus 1 and a minus 8. That will give me 32 plus 1 is negative 33. So that should be right. So putting x squared back in, I get 4x squared minus 1 is 1, and x squared minus 8 is your other. And setting those equal, let's see. This one could be a difference of squares, right? This one is. So that's 2x plus 1, 2x minus 1, and this one is not. So we'll have to use square root properties. X squared minus 8 equals 0. So x squared equals 8. So x equals plus or minus the square root of 8, which square root of 8 simplifies to 2 square root of 2. So x is equal to plus or minus 2 square root of 2. So for this problem, you'd have plus or minus 1 from this, 1/2, sorry, and plus or minus 2 square root of 2. Okay, for number 3, I've worked them out for you. Just notice that I factored by grouping, so try that. Make sure you can factor by grouping. We were left with x squared minus 12 for one factor, and the other linear term was 2x plus 5. So setting this one equal to 0, you get x squared equals 12. Taking the square root of both sides, don't forget plus or minus, you get plus or minus the square root of 12, which simplifies to plus or minus 2 square root of 3. And of course, this one is just negative 5/2. So there's your answer, negative 5/2 plus or minus 2 square root of 3. For number 4, again, factor by grouping. You should get a linear term of 3x squared minus 4 and 1 of x minus 5. Setting 3x squared minus 4 equal to 0, you get x squared equals 4/3. So taking the square root of both sides gives you plus or minus the square root of 4/3. Split that square root up because you can't have a fraction under a radical. And square root of 4 simplifies to 2. And square root of 3 you have to rationalize, so multiply both sides by square root of 3 over square root of 3. And you're left with 2 square root of 3 over 3. And then bring this one down, x equals 5. So our final answer was plus or minus 2 square root of 3 over 3 and 5. So those are your 2 other examples. So I'll stop this video and go on to I guess I'll keep going. Because I didn't plan to stop. I guess here I'll do this one too. Sorry. All right. So remember last time we learned the rational zero theorem, which is P over Q. This is just going to be doing the same thing, only I guess we're going to get some irrational zeros with this. So this is going to be similar to Friday's lesson with listing P over Q, because I can't factor this by grouping. Can I? Maybe. Wait a minute. If I take out x squared and I'm left with x minus 2, and then I have minus 18, isn't that x minus 2? So doesn't this factor to x squared minus 18 and x minus 2? So I didn't need to use P over Q is what I'm getting at. I could just grouping worked fine. So that would be set equal to 0. So no difference of squares here, so I'll have to set each one equal to 0. X squared minus 18 equals 0. So x squared equals 18. So the square root of x squared equals plus or minus the square root of 18. This is x, and that's going to be plus or minus 3 square root of 2, because you can take 9 times 2, so you can pull 3 out. And then this, of course, would be 2. So x is equal to plus or minus 3 square root of 2, comma 2. Okay, so one more. I'll show you the answers to the other one at the end. This one, there's no way we're going to do grouping because it's too many. So we're going to do P over Q. But remember I told you with P over Q, I'm not going to list all those out. I'm going to try 1. I don't know if that'll work. So let's see. 1 and negative 1. I always try those. So this would be 1 plus 1 minus 23 minus 3 plus 60. So that's not going to work. Negative 1 would be positive 1, minus 1, minus 23, plus 3, plus 60. Okay, I guess P over Q, 1 and negative 1 don't work. So let's list some of these out. P is 60. So there's a lot to go with 60. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Shoot. 10, 12, 15, 20, 30, and 60. And then luckily Q is 1. So it would be all plus or minus of these, plus or minus each one. So I'm not going to write those, but we can try plus or minus. I already did 1, so I tried 1 and it didn't work. So let's try 2. So 2 up here, I'm going to go 1, 1, negative 23, 3, 60. So bringing that down 1, 2, that's 3, that's 6. So that would be negative 17. And that's not even, oh, is this a 3? Okay. That would be 34. Negative 34. So I get negative 31. That's not going to work. Okay. So let me try 3. 1, 1, negative 23, negative 3, 60. And that was negative 3. That still wouldn't have worked. Make sure I did it. 1, 1, negative 23, negative 3, 60. Okay, so this would be 1, 3, 4, 12. So that would be negative 11. And that would be negative 33. That's negative 36. And that wouldn't be 60. So 3 doesn't work. I'm going, so like, look, so 2 didn't work, 3 didn't work. I'm just working on the line. Here goes 4. Got blue this time. Okay. 1, 1, negative 23, negative 3, 60. And, okay, 1, that would be 4, 5. Please work. 20, that would be negative 3, which is negative 12. Hey, this looks good. This would be negative 12. So that's negative 15. And sure enough, there's my negative 60. So yay, 4 worked. Okay, so 0. So my depressed polynomial is x cubed plus 5x squared minus 3x minus 15. And I'm going to try to do that by grouping. So I know I have x minus 4 as a factor. And because this looks like 3 and 5 right here. So I'm going to take out, factor by grouping, I'm going to take x squared out. And I get x plus 5. And then if I take a negative 3 out, I sure enough get x plus 5. So this factors to go up here. X squared minus 3 times x plus 5. And then I had x minus 4 from over there, from the first term finding. So I have to set those equal to 0. So x squared minus 3 equals 0 gives me x squared equals 3. So x is plus or minus the square root of 3. And then x equals negative 5 and x equals 4. So x is equal to negative 5 plus or minus the square root of 3 and 4. All right, there you go. So that was number 6. I'm going to stop right there. Okay, so go to 2.8 part 2. I'll do a few more of the 7 through 10 on your notes. There's more examples of this kind, and then we'll go to part 3 after that.